So, something really interesting just popped up out of nowhere. A new, mysterious AI model that's already making some serious noise. Is this a secret project from one of the big players? Well, that's what we're here to find out. We're going to dive deep, look at the evidence, and put this new stealth model through its paces. I mean, just think about it. A brand new, incredibly powerful AI model just shows up, and from day one, it's competing with the best of the best. This isn't just another small update. This feels like a real leap forward, and it's got the entire AI community talking. So the big question on everyone's mind is, what exactly is this thing? All right, let's give it a name. It's called Pony Alpha. It just landed on the testing platform OpenRouter, and believe me, it is turning heads with some absolutely incredible performance. And maybe the best part? For now, at least, it's totally free for anyone to go and try out for themselves.
Now, let's get into what's under the hood because the specs are pretty wild. We are talking about a massive 200,000 token context window. To give you an idea of what that means, it can basically read and remember a 300-page book in a single go. That is a total game changer for complex projects. And it's already showing off its muscle in coding and reasoning, rocketing straight to number 10 on the OpenRouter programming leaderboard.
But here's the thing. This probably isn't just some random new model. The community, and yeah, I'm right there with them, we are almost certain that Pony Alpha is actually a secret test for a model we've all been waiting for, GLM-5 from the Chinese AI company Zhipu. So, let's play detective and unpack the evidence.
There are really three key clues in this puzzle that are all pointing directly at GLM-5. First, we have a direct confession from the model itself. Second, some absolutely staggering specs are being rumored. And third, it seems to have a unique new architecture built for speed and efficiency. Let's break these down one by one.
Okay, this right here, this is the smoking gun. Seriously, you can try this yourself. Go on to OpenRouter, change the system prompt to custom, but just leave the box blank. Then you just ask it, who is your provider? And it tells you, it says it's a GLM model from Zhipu AI. You can't really get a more direct confession than that. Now, let's talk about the specs, because this is where it gets kind of wild. The number floating around is a total parameter count of 745 billion. Yeah, billion with a B. That is just absolutely massive, putting it in the same league as the biggest models out there. So what does that number actually mean? Well, with 745 billion total parameters and 44 billion active at any given time, it would be bigger than other major Chinese models like DeepSeek v3. It's also rumored to use something called DC Sparse attention, which is basically a fancy term for a new, super efficient architecture that lets it handle huge amounts of information without getting bogged down. And look, the quality of the output, it's just wow. Early testers are saying its performance is on par with what people are calling Opus 4.5 quality. That's like a hypothetical, even better version of Anthropic's top model, Claude 3 Opus. It consistently produces incredibly high-quality, well-reasoned responses, which is a very, very high bar to clear. All right, enough with the theories. We have a good idea of what this thing probably is, so let's get our hands dirty and see what it can actually do. We took Pony Alpha for a serious test drive, and we started with one of its biggest rumored strengths, coding, specifically front-end web design. For our first test, we threw it a bit of a curveball, something that's both creative and technical. We asked it to create an SVG of a butterfly. This isn't just about writing code. It tests its ability to understand aesthetics and reason through a visual problem. And the results were, frankly, amazing. The first try was good. It reasoned through the problem and gave us solid SVG code. But then we asked for a few tweaks, and on the second try, it comes back with a version that's animated. The wings are flapping. It was described as photorealistic with this really clever single-wing design that looked just like a real insect. It's one of the best SVG generations I've ever seen from an AI. Okay, so a butterfly is cool, but let's really scale this up. For the next test, we asked it to build an entire landing page for a website. Now, this is a much more complex task, with a lot of different pieces that need to work together. A true test of its design sense. And this is where I was seriously impressed. It didn't just spit out a giant static block of code. No. It properly structured the entire layout, it connected all the dynamic elements, and it even added these beautiful, smooth animations to everything. The final result honestly felt alive, like something a professional human developer with a great eye for detail would make. Okay, so it's a front-end whiz, we get it. But what happens when you give it something even more ambitious, something with a lot of moving parts that requires actual project planning? Well, we decided to really push the boundaries.
For this next test, we used what's called an agentic workflow. Basically, instead of giving it step-by-step instructions, you give it one big goal and it figures out how to get there by creating and managing its own little team of AI agents. The goal we gave it? Build a full portfolio website for the CEO of Anthropic.
And then we got a little weird with it. We gave it a really simple prompt. We just said, hey, create a browser-based OS. And it took that prompt literally and built a surprisingly functional operating system that runs entirely inside your web browser. It even called it Pony OS. And what it came up with was just fascinating. The design was this cool mashup of macOS and Windows, but it wasn't just a pretty picture. It had working apps. A web browser, a weather app, a system monitor. It even built a fully functional game of Minesweeper. The only tiny glitch was a dark mode button that didn't quite work, but otherwise, wow. All right, next challenge. Create a Minecraft clone using Three.js. The first try, the logic was there. You could break blocks and everything, but the visuals were all messed up. So we said, okay, try again. And the second attempt, way, way better. It fixed the visuals, it added terrain gradients, and the core mechanics still worked. Not perfect, for sure, but it showed an amazing ability to learn from feedback and iterate. So with all this incredible power, where does Pony Alpha, or let's be real, GLM-5, actually fit into the grand scheme of things? Let's zoom out for a second and look at the rest of the AI world.
You know, Pony Alpha isn't the only one of these stealth models hanging around. There's another one called Aurora Alpha, and the rumor there is that it might be a test from OpenAI. But based on my own testing, Pony Alpha is consistently outperforming it. It just seems to generate more creative and accurate code, especially on those really complex tasks where Aurora Alpha can sometimes fall flat.
Now, it's really important to add a piece of industry context here. The source material for this explainer mentions something that's pretty much an open secret in the AI world. It's a given fact that many companies, including some in China, train their models using the outputs from top American models from places like Anthropic or Google. It's just part of the complex, competitive dynamic of how this technology is evolving globally. So we've looked at the evidence, we've run the tests, we've put it through its paces. What's the final verdict on Pony Alpha? Let's wrap this all up. Look, here's the bottom line. Pony Alpha, which we're pretty sure is GLM-5, is shaping up to be a truly remarkable model. It is incredibly fast, it handles huge amounts of text without breaking a sweat, and its ability to write high-quality code is absolutely top tier. The official release is expected very soon, and remember, what we're playing with now is probably just an early test version. The final checkpoints are likely going to be even more polished and powerful. And that kind of leaves us with a bigger question, right? This whole trend of labs stealth dropping these powerful models for the public to test before the big official launch, is this the new normal? Are we entering a new era of AI development, one that's a bit more open and where the community gets to kick the tires and give feedback before a model is even finished? It's definitely